Well, we're recording. So what do we have here?
What is this, mango?
It is. It's mango.
Mango tea.
Mango.
All right then.
Mango tea today for Articulate.
What is this?
Mango.
Okay.
You're listening to Articulate with your hosts, Kevin Kramer and Shawn Gillespie, your go-to guys for art tips, techniques, and general artist ramblings. Presented by drawingandcoloring.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Articulate Season 2. New format.
Dose. Season 2, Episode 2.
Season 2, Episode 2.
Dos.
Dosido.
Dosido. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
I'm
new
super
teas.
excited. I'm excited to be here.
We have a table.
Man.
What I'm not excited about, I'll tell you,
What's that?
unfinished projects.
Unfinished projects are not exciting. And that's going to be what we're going to discuss today.
Ooh, that's sweet.
Is it sweet?
A little bit.
Mango tea is sweet.
Yes, that is.
That is sweet.
Yeah. Very
That is
sweet.
some sweet mango.
Mm-hmm.
That is some sweet mango, man.
Definitely
But
mango.
is not the topic of this.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Today we're talking about unfinished business.
Unfinished projects, unfinished business. I know I have a lot of them.
Let's count some of your unfinished projects.
How many do I have?
Oh, let me count the ways.
There's one of you.
Oh.
I've drawn a huge picture of you.
Picture of this magic
30 by 40.
right here. Back when I used to have a mustache.
Is about
Yeah.
30% finished.
And that's been a while. It's good looking. It was looking really good a while back, if I may
was.
say so myself.
But burnout
oh yeah,
is
an issue.
an issue with those kind of
All right,
projects.
so let's talk about burnout for a second. So
Okay.
you're working on a project, you're working on it day and night, you're on a roll, you're really feeling it, and then you just like get distracted.
Right.
Usually, that's how it happens for me.
Yeah.
Like maybe an episode of Castle is on. Something like that.
Something.
I go watch that, and then I'm like, or you go out of town for a couple days.
Anything that
Come
breaks
back.
that rhythm.
If you break the rhythm,
It's
that's
just
the key.
over.
I feel like a lot of it, and the same. It's like working out. It's like going to the
Right,
gym,
exactly.
which I don't do, but I hear people who do it, and the key for them,
They get in there whether you want to or not.
and also to just make a routine of it. They have to do it at a
Right.
certain time every day, and if they break that routine, then
You feel like crap.
They lose. Well, they stop doing it.
Right.
They don't finish it. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, and then they get fat. That's what happens.
That's an extreme.
If you don't finish your art projects, you're gonna get fat, people.
So go ahead and make sure you finish
Which
it.
there's nothing wrong with that. We accept everybody here at Articulate Podcast,
It's true.
even the fatties.
But try to keep them.
Sorry,
Try to
no,
stay-
I'm just kidding. Oh, I love you guys. Anyway, but yeah. But the point is, you got to build a routine.
Consistency, routine.
finish.
Yeah. But
So-
even then, that still doesn't really stop burnout.
Okay, so what happened to you? Let's talk about you and these unfinished projects. Obviously, you didn't have a routine, or you did. That didn't help you, or like.
Well,
Why?
whenever I'm doing those, I don't really have a routine as much.
Okay.
It's more of I feel inspired to do it.
Okay. What
So-
about to-do list? I find that if I create like a checklist of things I have to do that week, then I'm forced to finish it. And I force myself to get in there and do it.
So the thing with that is I find if I create a list or I have like a system that I don't ever use anyway, I'm not going to go back to it.
Huh, I'm a list guy. You're not a list guy.
I'm not a list guy.
We're different guys.
Like I could write a list on the wall, and I've done it. I have lists. I have all projects.
On the
I have
wall.
everything planned out
Right.
on the wall on like a whiteboard. But I have no system that gets me to keep going there. Even if I put it in front of my face or I like kind of hide it in a corner or something, unless I'm looking at it every day as something I need to do,
right?
it doesn't get done.
I started a list of my unfinished projects, but I never finished it. That's a joke, son. A joke.
Ba-doom.
It's a real knee slapper.
Yuck.
Thank you, folks. I'll be here all night. So, that was terrible. We
Well.
should edit this maybe. All right. So yeah. So your lists don't work for you. They
You
work
got
for me.
burnout on the list.
I can burn out on the list. Now, I have a tendency, and this is kind of not going to help you guys necessarily, but I am a little obsessive compulsive. So when I start something, I have to finish it.
Well, I have that
Otherwise,
too.
it
It's
drives
like
me
it's
nuts.
always
Like it nags at
it's
you.
like
Yeah.
son of a bitch. I
Right,
gotta finish
it just
it,
nags, yeah. So and it just bounces around in my head and drives me like a buzzing bee until I finish it. And then once I finish it, I got something else I got to do.
Exactly.
So it never ends.
Exactly. Because you're always starting something.
Right. Always. There's always something on my list.
Yeah, so I have your face.
My face, okay.
I was doing something that I was putting up for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Started it, got the outline done, started coloring it, and then it didn't get finished. I'm still working on it.
That's tragic.
This
is terrible.
It's building the project up bigger than it is in my head.
All right, so that's another thing. People get overwhelmed with a big project, and you get so overwhelmed with this big project that you feel like you can't do anything.
Right, and then you don't start at all.
But what you know what you have to do?
I don't want to do it.
You have to pull a Jack White.
Oh.
You have to be like the squirrel. Girl,
that's true.
be like the squirrel. You know that song, right?
Yes.
Maybe they don't know. Anyway, Jack White, the White Stripes, has a song that talks about
saving up your nuts for winter.
saving up your nuts. That's what it's about.
That's all you gotta do.
It's saving up your nuts. It's about this woman who is overwhelmed by the world, and she can't, and she's watching a squirrel, and the squirrel's packing up its nuts one nut at a time to carry it and pack it away for winter. And so the song is "Be like the squirrel, girl, be like the squirrel," and that's this. Yeah, and that's it's not a well. I don't know. I love the White Stripes, but it's not necessarily one of their best songs.
It's an inspiring song.
It is an inspiring song, and it's inspiration. And it is what you have to do when you get overwhelmed with these big projects, and you don't feel like you can. You have to just break them down into smaller pieces,
one chunk at a time,
and be like, okay, well, what do I need to get started?
Right.
Let me check my list.
Or
if you have a list, if you're a list person,
right?
And if you're not, let me get started on this 30 minutes after school. On this day, you can just create a routine, and then you're like, okay, and now I'm just gonna worry about drawing page 1. Not even worried about the rest. Or if it's a painting, I'm just gonna worry about getting the layout here, or if it's a mural, whatever you're working on, whatever your project is, it can be broken down into smaller pieces.
Right. And I find what else helps with that is having an idea of what complete looks like at that time. It's like, if I'm working on this layout, do I need the entire layout completed for me to feel okay about walking away from this, or do I just need a general rough sketch of what I'm going to do for when I come back?
Well, I mean, and that depends on the project, probably.
Exactly.
Right.
But just knowing what complete looks like won't get you overwhelmed and make you like, oh, God, I got to do this all the time.
Right. And then plus you can also just have that sketch as step 1, and that's all you're worried about is that sketch. You don't have to think about the whole project or the whole finished project. Just worry about, just a rough sketch real quick, and then refine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But don't just do the one sketch and then and then never go back because
I'm done.
I'm on
Sketch
cloud
done.
9.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got, making it part of your routine's a good idea. Right. Creating a list works for some, not for others.
Not unless you have to have a system that brings you back to the list.
Right. Don't get overwhelmed. Carry your nuts one at a time.
One at a time.
One at a
That's
time.
all you need to work
Be
with.
like the squirrel. And what else? What are some other reasons people don't finish projects?
Oh, I can tell you what I don't.
Death in family?
That any kind of major event, holidays.
Major event. Life. Life happens.
Life happens in a box.
And it stops you from finishing your projects because of life. Spilling tea all over the place.
It's getting excited.
This tea idea was maybe not good.
Passionate.
Mango tea is everywhere.
Passionate.
Passion. Anyway, so life happens.
Right.
And when life happens,
things don't get done.
Things don't get done. But sometimes you have to make time for these art projects to escape life.
Right.
Because then that's one of the things I love about art is I get in there and I get in my little zone and I'm concentrating on drawing this thing or painting this thing and everything else just fades away.
Right.
And that's good. You need that. That's therapy. There are art therapists in the world. Do you know that? There are people...
There's a book called Art Therapy.
But there's a whole profession.
There has to be a therapist.
I mean, not just a book. This is a profession. These are people getting paid out there to help you paint, and it's therapeutic because it is therapeutic.
It is.
And it's a total... I'm not, making fun of art therapy. It is a legitimate thing. But my point is that it's real and it works and you need it.
Right. If you can focus and get out of your head and get into a specific task...
Right.
Just for any amount of time.
Any amount. That's good.
Whenever I've created and focused more on my projects, that is what I've been doing.
Right.
Not really the... I love creating them pictures and getting them and having them done, but I could throw them together in Photoshop just as easily and be done.
Yeah.
It's more of the process and working through the stuff.
It's part of the. I know there are a lot of like writers and things who still like write out their ideas on legal pads and things like that because they like the tactile experience.
Right.
And so you have to find out what you like and what's part of your process. But the point is you can't let life get in the way of your art because your art is what's going to help you deal with that life.
Right.
Right. So that's not an excuse for not finishing your projects, as far as I'm concerned.
And that's not what I use.
Right. Don't use that as an excuse.
That's not what I do.
All right. So what are some other reasons people don't... What are some of these other projects you haven't finished and why? Making it all about you.
I know.
Notice how I'm not talking about any projects I didn't finish, because I finished them all. No, that's not true. I've got an unfinished painting up there. This is interesting.
There you go.
I've got an unfinished painting. It's been up there for months. It's
Years.
It's a naked lady. But it was a commission piece, right? And we start off, I get it, I sketched her, she came over, sketched her.
I thought that was like an app.
No. No.
Sketched her.
Sketched her. That would be a cool app.
Yeah.
But I sketched her out, on paper, and transferred it over to Canvas, and started painting. And at first, she was very interested in it, but getting somebody to sit there for hours at a time is... it sounds fun, and the people have a romanticized idea about it in their head.
Yeah, it's like Titanic.
Right, yeah, it's gonna be like Titanic. They're gonna sketch me, and it's gonna be beautiful, and it's gonna be amazing, and then they'll just paint it and be done.
You'll just be blushing.
And then they realize, and I'd read about Manet had a lot of problems because he would get very into his work and he wouldn't talk to the people that he was painting, so they would be bored to tears, and they didn't like sitting for him because they were bored.
No idea what he's doing.
Because it was just quiet and awkward, and they're just sitting in a room, holding the same pose for hours at a time, and it's hard to get somebody to do that.
A dank, ill-lit room with a guy just sitting
there.
What's going on? Is he even drawing me anymore?
Right. Is he just enjoying the view now? Who can know? Who can know these things? Okay. But the point is sometimes projects go unfinished, not because of anything you've done, but because of the people you're relying on to finish the project.
Right.
Right.
So is that too.
And in that case, you just basically have to harass them and be like, when are you coming back over? I need you to come over so I can finish my painting.
At least send me some pictures.
And then maybe follow them in your car for a little while, or just knock on their door at random times and be like, hey, you gonna come over and get naked again? Come on, when's that happening? Because that's really gonna be the way to finish that project.
Found you on Craigslist. What's going on?
Right. Yeah, I've been watching you, and maybe just go and look through their window and watch them from there. Okay. Don't do any of that, people. I'm being sarcastic. I'm spilling things everywhere. Big mess. I need to drink this tea down. Anyway, don't do any of that. Obviously, I was being facetious and sarcastic.
Obviously.
I don't want anybody stalking anyone and saying Shawn O said to do it.
Right.
It's a bad idea. But sometimes...
To get things done, you have to rely on other people.
Right. And sometimes you do have to be a little more assertive and be like, hey, we need to do this. And maybe even get them into part of your routine and be like, okay, let's do this every Tuesday. That way it becomes part of their routine and you finish.
Right. The main thing that I've learned over these silent 6 months of ours is, and it's something I've really been doing forever, is creating a system for everything that you do. You have some kind of process, some kind of phase or system.
You must be systematic.
To go from one thing. Like if you have a person come over and they want, if you're going to be painting them, have a system to where...
Come over and we will paint you.
There's a backup.
All right, okay.
Like I know that this is going to possibly happen.
A backup?
I'll take pictures.
Like you have a backup woman?
I'll take
She's going to come over instead?
I'll take 3 to 60 pictures of them.
Okay.
So then I can use them as references when they're not there.
For when they're not there. All right, that might work. But of course, the whole point of this painting was to do it live, because I'd never done that before from a live. Because I'd always done. I mean, I'd drawn and painted sketches of live artists or live models. Just in the studio, like in Colorado College and things like that. But I'd never had one where they'd come in and sit every day, and it was able to finish a complete actual work, that was outside of a classroom environment.
Right. Well, there's live nude drawings and stuff like that in town too, but they only give you 2-3 minutes of pose.
Right. And then that's how it was in college.
And again, it has to be...
Yeah, and I wanted a full, hangout and, finish this. But
again, that goes with what does complete look like? Because some of those, when they give you 2 minutes, they say focus on this.
And that's a whole other podcast that we definitely need to talk about, is when do you know when you're done?
Right.
And that can
That's a
be,
big one.
but that can be part of like these unfinished projects too, though. We'll talk about that in a whole nother podcast. But another thing is, a lot of people think they have unfinished projects, and maybe that project is done.
Or should be done.
Or you should just call it. And there is a point where some people, and sometimes, you have to just cut your losses. Sometimes you got so fixated on a project, and you're so into it, and it's taking up all of your time, and you should just maybe step away from that one for a while and work on something else. And as long as you keep working.
Right. And that's kind of where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have all intentions of going back and completing those things,
right.
But I just keep stacking other projects.
Yeah, but you can't go too deep.
Right, I've gone too far.
Yeah, if you go too far, then you won't finish them.
I've gone way too far.
That. But and then you get like overwhelmed, and I've got all these projects, and then you don't want to do any of them, and you just want to sit there and watch Castle.
So that's when you start making smaller ones.
Okay. Then you carry your nuts one at a time.
And then you go up to the bigger one.
Yeah.
Get a little small accomplishment. It's like, finish
small
that.
Nuts.
Get the small nuts, then work your way up to the big nuts.
You gotta work your way up to the big nuts, folks.
Alrighty.
This podcast is taking a turn for the worst. This is a potty mouth podcast
really
this season, folks.
It really is.
God,
that's what happens when we just discuss.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we covered some good stuff.
Good stuff. So make a list.
Make a list.
Break it down into things. Come up with systems.
Systems are what help me get things done.
Make it part of your routine.
Right. If you're going to have a list, make sure it's visible. Like, if you wake up, you see it instantly. Put it in places where you're going to get cued to see it.
Right. And that's another thing, too, that I want to talk about. It's like, and we discussed this a little last season, is having a space that is your own, but for that project, or for making art, and that it's your own, and have it out all the time. Because if you have to get your painting out, and get your canvas out, and get all the paint out, and all that, you're less likely to do it than if you can just walk up and brush a little while, spend 30 minutes to an hour doing that, clean up the brushes real quick, and you're done. If it's out and it's ready to go, you're more likely to do it.
Perfect example is, like, right now, we're shooting this here because my studio is set up for a product photography shoot.
Man.
Which, if we broke that down and changed it all around just to do this, would be...
You wouldn't set it back up and do this. Yeah, again.
It would be way too much to go into.
Yeah.
It took like an hour to get it set up.
Right. So, yeah. So then you gotta... Then that's another point. You have to plan around your projects, too.
Right.
Yeah. So, there you go.
So I think we've
we
covered what I have done.
We covered what you hadn't done, but we also came up with some good ideas for how you could finish it.
Right.
One, get these projects out and ready to work on, so you can
like
go and work on it a little bit.
behind my desk. I don't get to
it's
see
tucked
it
away in a corner now. You need to have that out on the desk, and that way you can sit there, spend 30 minutes a day.
Right. Even if it's just like, I'll work on this little bit here.
Right. Just a tiny bit.
Slowly get it done,
but make it part of your routine so that you're just working on it a little bit of time. And then when you think about this in like writing, especially. Like, if you write 1 page a day, and by the end of the year, you got a 365-page book.
So there you go.
There you go.
All right.
Only 1 year. That's a novel. That's a novel, folks.
In a year.
In a year. With 1 page a day.
It's not including editing. Everything else.
No, it doesn't include that.
Disclaimer.
But still, my point, though, is if you break things down into just little pieces, then over the long run, you finish things as opposed to not feeling like you have time and never doing anything.
Right.
Which is sad.
Steady and slow wins the race. Eventually.
Yeah, sometimes. It can. Unless that turtle, it's got the little jetpack, and it's got all its little twin brothers there.
I know what you're referencing.
And then old Bugs Bunny gets to the end, he's like, "You turtles!" And he's like, "It's a possibility." Yeah, and say things like that. It's a great cartoon.
I knew exactly.
Life lessons. Life lessons, folks. Bugs Bunny teaches us everything. And I love me some Looney Tunes.
It's true.
I love me some Looney Tunes.
But don't get distracted with them. And I think that's a good place to end this, this podcast.
All right. I think so, too. So this podcast is complete. We set out. We did it.
Done.
What
does it look like when we're finished? It looks like
this.
This is it.
Could be better.
Yeah.
Could have been worse.
What? It's true.
It is what it is. And now we're going to move on to other projects.
Yeah. What projects do you have that you're not finished or not complete? And how do you actually go about making sure you get those done.
Yeah. What have you finished, and what do you not have finished? I'd be more interested in hear what you don't have, what you haven't finished, what's just sitting there, and what's your excuse.
Yeah.
Email us your excuses for not finishing those projects.
And put them in the comments below.
And we will mock you.
Yeah.
On TV.
Oh, we're not going to do that.
I might.
He might do that. But
I could.
I won't do that.
I might do that. You don't know what I'm going to do.
Anyway, if you go, leave your comments below. Tell us what you're working on, what you haven't finished.
Uh-huh.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button.
Mm-hmm.
Hit the like button.
Like us on Facebook.
Facebook,
And
YouTube.
we might update every now and again.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
And if on Articulate Podcast, you can check out our work or anything that we're working on. Drawingandcoloring.com or...
Deshano.com.
There you go.
Yeah. Buy my books.
And that's how we'll end this.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
See you next week.
You've been listening to Articulate with Kevin and Shawn. Subscribe on iTunes or check them out on drawingandcoloring.com. Always reminding you to keep it simple.